Good evening everyone and welcome along to League of Europe. We are here on the traditional PS4 platform as we take in Season 8 Division 1 Round 6 of the Championship as we take in of course the Singapore Grand Prix from the Marina Bay Street Circuit. My name is James Head, going to be taking you to the stream as always of course on a Saturday night, and joining me in the commentary box, hopefully not sounding very quiet on our end certainly, it is Mr. QVR. Killer, how you doing?
Hello, I am doing very well. Second time's the charm. Hopefully we have no issues with stream this time. And we'll get straight into it because we've already got some cars out on track for qualifying. And our championship leader, NSX Montana, first by in the standings, first by nature, out on track already.
Yeah, definitely so. First man out on track obviously is NSX Montana. He is currently leading the championship as one would expect, of course, coming into tonight. I just need to get it up on Twitter. In fact, I've got it here. Montana leading the way on 123 points, of course. Finished second to Connor last time out. No surprise that Connor, I think, is the guy behind him, actually, out on track and giving a bit of slipstream. The defending champion, of course, Montana and Connor, maybe already putting a race down towards the Singapore Slate, which would be interesting. But yeah, Montana leading the way, 123 points. Wow to second. Rudy there in third on 54. Connor there in fourth on 50 points. Pease in fifth on 45. Campbell sixth on 33. Gary seventh on 28, along with Packer in eighth on 28. Yilboom in ninth on 27, and then you round off the top 10 on 25 points. And Connor, of course, won last week. Killer. Montana second. Lou in third. Lou obviously not showing tonight. Are we going to get more of the same tonight with the NSX boys first and second?
Oh, I think it's a possibility, although those walls, given how Connor's first few races of the season went, could put a spanner in his plans. But I think Montana, from what I've heard, is on course to walk this one. Luckily, it's a dry race. I think if it was a wet race, Montana would have lapped the entire field. But it is going to stay dry, I think. But Montana is very much the out favourite. Behind him, though, I've got no ideas. I'd say Connor, but Connor's a very hit and miss. He's had 2 wins in a row. He's had a few DNFs as well, so it's going to be interesting who's in that battle for second and third.
Yeah, it is indeed. Montana then coming through the left-hander of turn number 3 now, through the first couple of corners, then to the left-hander of turn number 4, and then in front of the Singapore Eye, even towards the right-hander now of turn number 5, and now we come through the right-hander of turn number 6, onto Raffles Boulevard, on the way down, of course, in towards turn 7, at Memorial Corner, of course. Daniel Huggard taught me the corner names to this track, thank you very much, Dan. 26.7 through the first sector for Montana, and now coming in towards the right-hander of turn number 8, and then through again the left-hander of turn number 9. Pretty much nearly halfway through the lap at this point. On the run down, of course, in towards the Singapore Sling, with the Singapore skyline shining brightly over the cars. He now comes in towards the Singapore Sling of turn number 10, then onto the Anderson Bridge through 11, through 12, and then onto the Anderson Bridge, and then across the bridge in towards turn 13 at the hairpin, which is a very tricky hairpin on this game. My first time commentating actually on Singapore. Looks very nice here on the F122 game, and Montana in the middle sector, 103.2, exactly where we should be expecting the times to be setting so far at this early stage in qualifying. So now comes in toward the left-hander of turn number 16, to the right-hander of turn number 17. Of course, PK Gate, or Renault Gate, as you like to call it, in 2008 occurred through that left-hander, and then underneath the grandstand through the left-hander of turn 18, then through the right-hander of turn 19, then underneath the underpass at turn 20, and then under 21. Oh, as he catches the curb through 21, good save by Montana, but that pretty much done. Through 22, through 23, on the run to the line, Montana's the line, 35.7, with a mistake that I think cost him about 2.5, 3 tenths.
Yeah, I don't think that scuppered his lap too much, but it means that's an ominous marker for Montana to lay down. A 35.7, half a second clear of Gary, over a second clear of Campbell on the opening efforts. That is a massive lap from Montana, and there was a huge mistake in there, as we said, a second clear of Verstappen as well. Wouter goes second, but he's still half a second off Montana. That is a staggering first lap, and as Max Verstappen would say, watching on board, that was just simply lovely. It was beautiful to watch from Montana. His apexes were inch perfect. Until that mistake, that was a near perfect lap, it looked like to me.
Is it possibly going second here, maybe ahead of his teammate? He does. 36.1, of course, the local hero, the Singaporean, of course, in Izza. Wouter there in third. Not to be confused with the Indonesian that I called him last season around here in Singapore. Montana there at the top. Izza there in second. Wouter there in third. Gary there in fourth. Gary about 5.5 tenths of a second off his teammate so far. Connor, by the way, back in the pit lane after invalidating his lap time as well. Maledictus is on a lap, and Reservoir is on a lap as well. But I think they're not really on a competitive lap here. Yeah, Maledictus has got got full wing damage, nearly got a T-tray pretty much on that car, and unfortunately for the McLaren, he's going to be down towards the back end of the field so far in qualifying, with Reservoir there on a lap as well, running down in towards Singapore Sting, but I think he has also got full wing damage. If not, he certainly just invalidated his lap.
Yeah, him and Maledictus both abandoned their laps. Lulvacar had just started his lap and then spun through the last corner, which if you're going to mess up your lap, the worst place to ruin it is the last corner of the outlap. Now he's got to go all the way around with some very hot tyres just to come back into the pits because the lap's already gone because he was crawling across the line to start it. So few drivers have had very messy opening laps, and Connor's back out for an outlap. I think we said he was on an outlap early in the session, so he must have had a poor first effort as well and is going out again. But what a lap from is that was, as you say. Although still 4/10 off Montana.
Yeah, 4/10 off Montana so far. Connor, of course, will be up there, I'm sure. Welcome back, by the way, Commenceless, who was missing last week. Of course, sunning himself in Paris. He is back, though, in the Night Lights of Singapore. He's down there in 12th position at the minute, just behind Rudy, of course, who's third currently in the championship, coming into tonight. So Commenceless looking quite good there as well. 37 flat. I know this is one of his strong tracks, potentially, in terms of laps around here as well. As Connor now comes through in towards turn 18, turn 17, I should say, through PK Gate or Reynolds Gate, whatever you like to call the corner. I certainly like to call it PK Gate anyways, because Nelson Piquet, of course, thoroughly spun coming through and obviously caused the raucous that was the Reynolds Gate scandal in 2008. As now Connor is about to set up his lap in the Aston Martin, and I don't think he's going to get any track in front of him or any traffic in front of him starting his lap either.
No, he hasn't. Just Maledictus ahead of him, but I'm sure Maledictus will get out of the way down Raffles Boulevard between 6 and 7. 1, 2 and 3. Really nice from Connor, using all of the track on the exit, and he'll try and open up turn 5 as much as he can. Go to the extreme left. You want to just kiss that curb. He's done a good job there, going all the way to the walls. The full extremities of the track are there to be used. Track limits aren't being monitored there. You can't really extend too much with the walls anyway. What's the first sector like? A 26.6. That is a massive first sector for Connor. He looked like he was a little timid turning into turn 7. Let's have a look at turn 8. The car understeers a little bit here. There's a very low grip track surface. Sometimes that front end just gets away from you, but Connor's keeping this lap together nicely. That Maledictus will weaving away, be very distracted as he comes through Singapore Sling. That curb on the inside there of turn 11, you don't want to go over it because it'll send the car running straight towards the wall, and Connor played that perfectly, and this is looking like a really great lap from the man who's on a run of 2 wins in a row. Is Maledictus finally going to get out of the way? He does indeed. What's the middle sector split? He's up on Montana by about 1/10 of a second, James, as we get towards sector 3 here.
Yeah, he is. It's a 103.1 in the middle sector, about 1/10 of a second up, coming through now 16, and then through the left-hander of turn number 17. He's looked absolutely on the limit, nearly hitting the wall there on the right-hand side as well. In towards the left-hander of turn 18, through the right-hander of turn 19. What is noticeable, though, he's been taking a lot more higher revs compared to Montana on this lap, but now Connor coming through 21, avoids the curb. This is going to be about 3/10 quicker than the Montana. Coming to the left-hander of 22, he hit the wall on the right-hand side there, coming to the line, 35.2. That's where Montana should have been, if obviously he didn't make that mistake coming to the final couple of corners. He's there, back on an outlap though. He's coming through the middle sector, or now in the final sector actually. It's Connor out on top, 35.2. Dare I say that could take the beating, even with Montana finding 3/10 of a second or so?
I want to say bloody hell, because that is one of the best laps I think I've seen this season, possibly ever, in League of Europe. I don't think Montana's got half a second, at least in the mistake. Perhaps he's got some other time lurking in his pocket around the lap, but those two, as they have been the last 2 weeks, in a league of their own today, Connor's got nearly a second back to Izzat, and that Izzat lap 36.1, mighty impressive in itself. Connor and Montana are on another plane of existence these last few weeks, and just on board with QBR Campbell. I think he's the first man to start his next run. Where's he through the first sector? A 26.788. He's on a wheel as well, and he's 1/10.5 slower than Connor through sector 1. They're just finding time, these NSX guys, from absolutely nowhere. It's breathless to watch, but it makes the rest of the field that bit less competitive.
Yeah, I'm on board with Montana. Just flicking off board there with that Campbell. He was a 26.7, as you said, through the first sector. Montana, 26.640. Oh, and he hits the wall! Coming out of turn number 8. Nearly hitting the wall. I think he actually did on the slide. That was a bit of brown code moment, potentially, there for Montana. Across the Anderson Bridge. Doesn't want to make another mistake like that. Can he now find that time again in this middle sector? The middle sector, very technical, of course. The final sector, very technical on this lap as well. Montana coming through the final final sector. Oh, it's a 103 flat through the middle sector. Even with touching the wall, a 103 flat in the middle sector. Are you stinking kidding me in terms of this lap? Coming through the right-hander of 16, through the left-hander of 17, and as long as he keeps it now out of the curb through 21, this should be a 135 flat potentially coming in here from Montana. Coming through the final couple of corners, through 20, through 21, much better through there. A little bit hesitant though on the exit. Now going to be challenging Connor for pole position. Maybe a 34.9 through the middle final sector. No, it's a 35.2. And I've got to be honest, even though we found 0.3 of a second, oh, and there's a Red Bull round in the background, I think that might have been Dan potentially, yes. Dan through the final corner, spinning with a 37.3 currently on his personal best. But Montana, they're out on top. Connor in second, that lap time is still beatable.
It is, and the fact they've gapped the field by 0.6, but they've got another couple of tenths in there, surely. I'm just incredulous. Izzat improves. He's up to P3 35.898, so he's joined the 135 club. Jewel Room's just popped in a 36.0 as well, as has Gary. So the people behind, they're finding time, but they're not finding anywhere near enough. Campbell in the end did a 36.1. Pease, who's had a couple of scruffy qualifyings lately, he's done a 36.1 as well. So behind Montana and Connor, it's a fascinating battle we've got from Izzat down to Pease and Wouter. But those two, you run out of words to describe how good they are. They're ridiculous.
Stinking, what was it I said there? Stinking something.
Good, I think.
Yeah, stinking good, something like that anyways. Montana though out on top, Connor in second, Izza there in third. Rudy was on a lap. I think he's backed off though. 36.4 as we see Comensless there improving 0.7 of a second to go ninth. Not a bad lap there at all from the Alpine man. He's behind Wouter and Pease, of course, his fellow relentless teammates, of course. Campbell not on a lap. Gary, by the way, went fifth with a 36 flat. Not looking too bad at all, but it's Montana out on top, Connor in second, and then Izza there in third. The front two are clear, as is the yellow flag through the first sector. I have a feeling that's Lolvacar getting out of the way. Oh no, it's actually Lolvacar on a lap, in fact. 26.7 through the first sector.
Yeah, one of those ones who haven't got a competitive lap time in yet, along with Maledictus. Resify has got one in, 37.2 after having a scruffy first run for him. But this is, and so close to hitting the inside wall there was Lolvacar. He managed to cut the inside corner. I've done that in TT a few times, where you turn into turn 9, just a little, or turn 10, sorry, just a little too sharply. And you just cut that inside wall, and that could be good night Vienna. But Lolvacar survived, but with an invalid lap, and he's going to have to come straight back in, turn that car around, and he's going to go out again in a very precious situation here, Lolvacar, where he's not got a competitive lap on the board, and this is an awful track for it, because there's so many places you can make a mistake. You want to have that confidence of having a good time in the bank. We saw at Bahrain round 1 of the season. Lolvacar's a good qualifier, but here it's not going too well for him.
Yeah, so far, so good though for the NSX boys out on top. Montana there leading the way, Connor in second, Izza in third, and yeah, Lolvacar down in 19. Obviously got to get a better lap time in. I'm sure the Spaniards are now tuning into the chat, so welcome along, Spanish friends, with Lolvacar down in 19th position so far. Coxey is about to start on a lap as well. In fact, actually, Connor's just started up a lap. Sorry, Coxey, coming through to the left-hander at turn 2, and then through the right-hand, the left-hander again at turn number 3. So through the left-hander 1, 2, 3, then through the left-hander 4, and then in towards turn number 5 here. And if Connor doesn't make any sort of mistake on this lap, he should go quicker than Montana, you would imagine. But this is Montana we are talking about. 35.262, Connor 35.298. What's the first sector like? 8,000 up in the first sector, and it's a 26.6, dead on, and he just was a little bit hesitant coming out of turn 7.
Yeah, I think this is one of those tracks you're never ever going to get a perfect lap. There's always going to be a little bit of time in there somewhere. Tracks like Silverstone, you can come away from it and feel like you've done an absolutely perfect lap. It'll be as close as we can get humanly possible, I think, with Montana and Connor. But there's all, you can see those little moments of hesitation where you just miss the apex slightly, or you're just a little bit timid on getting the throttle down. We saw it there with Connor coming out of turn 7 and 8.
On the
but yeah, this looks mega from Connor. Where are we? We're going to be in the 1 minute 2s. Oh! We are in the 1 minute 2 through the middle sector. Another 2 tenths for Connor. We're threatening the realms of 134s. I thought we'd see pole around a 35.4, 35.5. We could see a pole that's a 34.9. This is ridiculous stuff.
Oh, very close to the curb though, coming through turn 18 underneath the grandstand. It's getting a little bit scrappy now from Connor, and I think he's losing the time actually, coming through this final sector. Wouldn't be surprised actually, he comes in the pit lane, and that's exactly what he's going to do. I think just too many mistakes crept in there through the final sector. His heart was probably pounding at that stage, and his heart was thumping so much, it's cost him nearly to go on the wall coming out of turn 18 there. And Connor, currently 35-2, it looked absolutely cracking. The first and second sector looked absolutely brilliant. He now needs to take the pressure off himself and then obviously try and get another lap time in. And speaking of lap times, 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Where's the time gone in qualifying? Montana out on top, Connor second, Izzo there in third. Coxie, who was on lap, is invalidated though. He's in the middle sector, coming through turn 18, in fact, coming through the final sector, coming through turn 18 now. First driver on an outlap, I believe, is one of the Hasses, and I think it might be Pease. It's not, it's Yildirim.
It is Yulbream, so no one is starting their first or last lap, sorry, particularly early, and I think that was good thinking from Connor. If he can get the car turned around in time to come in, or to go out early for his last lap, give himself the chance, if he messes it up, to come in, put another set of tyres on, and go again, and I think that's exactly what he's doing. I think he's just come out of the pit lane now, so he has got time to go again, but it's going to be Yulbream who's going to be the first person to start his last lap. Here we go, turns 1, 2 and 3, so easy to mess this up. I've done it 5,000 times. You don't want to cut that corner too much, because like turn 11 it can just send the car skittling on. Coxley retires from the session, not using as much track on the exit Yulbream as Connor was earlier on. Let's have a look how he approaches turn 5, and he's invalidated there, and that is his lap over already.
It is indeed. Maledictus, another one. Invalidation coming through the first sector. Dan has just started up on a lap. Coming down the esports line, down in towards turn 1, of course. Dan, formerly Excel driver, of course, now is part of, well, I think he's just called Eon Dan, which is not too bad. Naming yourself after an energy company and forking millions of profits, potentially. So Dan now coming to the right-hander of turn number 5, down Raffles Boulevard, through the little kink of turn 6, and then, of course, down in towards turn number 7, which, of course, is Memorial Corner at the end. Bottom end of the straight, 26.9 is respectful through the first sector, not of course going as quick as Montana, who I believe is just starting up on a lap as well, but right on board with Dan. Surely will be kept on board with Montana. Is he the guy behind Dan?
He may well be it's Gary, sorry, it's Gary. Gary has done a great first sector, a 26.7 from Gary. Not quite in the realm of the NSX lads, but that is a big first sector from Gary. And with Yulbream invalid, he's got a great chance to improve again. Campbell's going to come through sector 1, so we'll see there where that is. Verstappen down in P10, I just caught a bit of his lap. He had quite a tame first sector, a bit scruffy through turn 5. Campbell has dipped into the 26.6, so Campbell's on a big lap as well here as Gary comes through the middle sector. I think third place is very much up for grabs. Gary's still 10th up with the 103.4, so Izzat's place is under threat, and Izzat's going to be, I think, one of the last people to finish his lap as Yulbream retires there.
Yeah, it's going to be Connor, the last man on the lap. He's only got a handful of seconds, but he is going to make it across the line. Gary, though, we are on board with now. Dan wasn't really doing much in the middle sector. Eurona's crashed coming through turn number 7. So Eurona's actually crashed after turn 8, in fact. The right-hander of turn number 8. So he's crashed into the wall. Must have gone too hard on the brakes. As we see, lap times improving. Verstappen, 36.1. Gary, though, on the run towards the line. What can the Irishman do? Puts himself up to third, and now puts Izza, the homeboy, down to fourth. But he's only a 10.5 up in the first sector himself. So Izza could potentially improve. Connor, by the way, Montana, by the way, is 1,000th up in the middle sector. He's now coming through the final couple of corners. Connor is just on a lap coming through the first sector. We'll try and run up with him very soon indeed. Montana now around the final corner. On the run to the line, he invalidates. Montana invalidates, and that could be crucial. He was down in this time as well. And Connor is 200ths of a second up on his lap. Other improvements will come. We're going to run a ball with Connor, though, just to build the tension a little bit further in this qualifying session. Cross the Anderson Bridge, and Connor now looks on it once again through this middle sector.
Izzat was on a big lap, sorry James, and he just crashed coming through the little underpass section in the final sector. He would have beaten Gary and Campbell for P3, but Connor, what a middle sector!
Now he needs to keep it together. This is where he put himself under a lot of pressure on his last lap there, and it's now 2.5 tenths up, surely in the realms. As long as he keeps it in the white line and keeps it quick enough, he is going to be going on pole position here tonight. There it comes in towards 18, just again correcting the steering through there. Much better through 19, then through turn 20 and 21. This is on the limit from Connor. Catches the curb through 20, doesn't ride the curb at 21, and now through the double left at 22 and 23. Connor's surely going pole position here on the run to the line, and he does. It's a 35.1. He's a 10th clear of Montana in the end. Connor left it late, but leaving it late works, and he goes on top for Montana there in second, and Lolvacar makes it an Aston Martin first and third.
Yeah, I said Lulvacar put himself in a precious situation. Clearly, he thrives under pressure because he sailed all the way up to P3 there. And what a lap from Connor. He played that sector 3 as well as he could, I think, with how fast his heart must have been beating in his chest. He could afford to lose a tenth. He knew that. He didn't have to take the risk that he did on his previous lap. And he traded away some of that time so that he could get a good lap in. And he had enough in his pocket to get pole. What a lap, what a front row. They were in a class of their own all session.
And will they be in a class of their own? Hopefully the rain god's not with them, because it's absolutely teeming down here in the north of England. Connor leads the way. Connor out on top for in pole position, for Montana there in second. Lulvacar there in third. The Spanish fans will be happy with that one. Campbell fourth. Gary in fifth. The battle of the Celts there with Izza, Wouter, Yildirim, Pease and Commensalist top 10. Verstappen, Rudy, Dan, Forza Brendan, Gladbach top 15. Rocco, Rezify, Jeroen, Coxey and Maledictus, who did not get a valid lap time in at all. Right down at the back end of the field, the QVR man, of course, appearing for his first time, I think, in Singapore in League of Europe history, certainly in Division 1 anyways. It's clear sky currently. It's difficult to understand, obviously, what the rain or what the weather is going to do. However, I have just spied, I'm not sure if you might have spied that as well, I spied in, I think it's the Mercedes pit garage there, I just saw a full set of wet compounded tyres.
I'm not too sure. It looks dry to me. Although it does look very cloudy, so we shall see. But it looks dry for now. There's no rain coming down unless we've got some massive visual bug. But I see a set of mediums, but I don't see any full wets.
No, he switched to mediums. Yeah, the driver, who I think might be Montana potentially, switched from a set of wets to a set of medium compounded tyres. As I say, I'm not sure if that's a visual glitch. But if it is not a visual glitch, then we are forecast rain potentially in the race, which is going to be very interesting indeed if that does happen. Keeps us certainly on our toes. And do you know what? I'd want a wet race around here. It causes absolute carnage, but it's normally a good viewing perspective for the viewers, of course, that are tuning in. As the formation lap is on. I thought the formation lap was off there for a second, but the formation lap is on. Connor out on top, Montana there in second, Lulvacar in third. Judging by the strategy calls, interesting. Connor, medium compounded tyres. Montana's hard. Montana's gone into a set of hard compounded tyre. Lulvacar, Campbell, Gary, Izza, Wouter, Pease, all in the top 10 on a set of mediums. Yildirim, Commensalist on a set of hards. Verstappen going set of softs, which is interesting. Rudy, Dan, Forza Brendan, Gladbach all on a set of hards, and then Rocco's the sole one on a set of mediums outside the top 10. Rezify, Jeroen, Coxey and Maledictus all on a set of hard compounded tyres as well. Connor out on top though, Montana in second. Is that the right strategy call from Connor? Because I think that might come back to bite him later on.
I think Montana's the one who's done a little bit of a boo-boo here, because I think the mediums, a bit like what we saw at USA at COTA, the mediums carry such an advantage in the first stint here compared to the hards. Last week at Monza, it was a little more similar. The delta was a lot lower. The hards and the mediums are much more comparable. You can be competitive with them. Here, the mediums have such an advantage in these first few laps. I think Connor will gap Montana significantly. And Montana's problem is, because he's got 5 medium runners behind him immediately, if he loses any kind of places there, if he gets caught in any kind of train because those hards struggle to come in for the first few laps, he's going to let Connor get away. So Montana's kind of really banking on his pace being good enough, and I'm sure it is, but that he can keep Lulvacar, Campbell, Gary, Izat, Wouter behind him, because if he doesn't, those mediums are so much quicker than the hards in the first stint that I think Connor's going to run away with it. Verstappen is an interesting one. I did hear him say earlier in the week that he thought soft hard was a possibility compared to medium hard. So we'll see how that one pans out.
Yeah, definitely so. Indeed, of course, Connor out on top, Montana in second, Lulvacar in third. Maybe to pick up the scraps, potentially for a scrappy lap for Montana. Maybe to try and pick up the pieces on the end of lap 1. One would expect, certainly, as Connor, I thought, was going to drive in the wall for a second there as he comes through the left-hand return 21. I think we had a spinner further down the field, by the way, through the first sector. I have a feeling it might have been Rocco that had spun him. Certainly one of the Mercedes, he was further down. I think he spun potentially out of turn number 5. Doesn't want to be doing that, of course, in the race. As Connor now goes towards his starting grid position. Montana, of course, will be alongside him. It's only around a 200-metre run down and towards turn number 1. Are we going to get chaos like what we did with Verstappen, Raikkonen? Oh, and there's Alpine spun in the background. That is Commensalist, I think, who's done an absolute dreadful aspect. If he gets that parked up on the grid, I'll give him a 5 in myself. Now comes through and parks up. Hopefully it's going to be no farther towards comments list. I might have to give him that one, to be honest. Conor out on top, Montana alongside him. There's the view from Conor. There's the view from Montana. On the run down and towards turn 1. All 5 red lights are on. And it is lights out and away we go, and Conor gets a very good start. Montana off the line, might react quicker though, and he's going to pull alongside him towards turn number 1. Montana might lead him towards turn number 1, he does. The Smithsman holds the Aston Martin out to play, and Montana leads the way through turn number 1. Who would have thought that off the start? Conor in second, Campbell in third, Lolvacar in fourth has dropped down in position, but he's going side by side with Campbell in towards turn number 5, as now we fly through the right hand of turn number 5, onto Raffles Boulevard for the first time. Izzard's lost a position potentially there as well. Sorry, it was Campbell that lost a position, and Izzard's actually going side by side with Lolvacar down through Raffles Boulevard, all clean further down the field. I think Reservoir got caught up in an instant potentially further down, but Montana leads the way. Conor in second, Lolvacar in third, Izzard in fourth, Campbell there in fifth. Verstappen's making up ground instead of soft compound tyres. Absolute chaos though in towards as Campbell has been made contact there, and I think that was the Ferrari into the back of him of Wouter perhaps.
Yeah, it was. I think it was one of the Ferraris. Campbell was just forced to go straight on there at turn 8. Otherwise, it was all very clean, but those guys were tripping over each other. They had a chance to get Montana and to stick with Conor, but they've all tripped over themselves through the opening stages. Gary lost a couple of places, then gained them back, although he's got a little bit deep there at the end of the Anderson Bridge, and that's going to give Wouter a run on him towards the hairpin of turn 14, but I think just using some deploy there for Gary to defend, but he's already slipped a second back from Izzat. It's been a really scruffy lap from that group of medium starters who are behind the front row. They've all tripped over each other, and Campbell, the big loser, again, he's going to have to fight back from away down the field, as he has done already multiple times this season.
Yeah, championship contender, of course, Campbell last season. Justas, of course, not being here. Rudy has, however, lost a position to Rocco. And that is in towards turn 18.
Carl Medlin's had a big mistake coming through turn 19. That put Gilbream right on the back of them.
Yeah, you'll be on the back of him in towards the final couple of corners then at the end of lap 1. Montana, who would have thought that off the start? I certainly wouldn't. The hard compound tyres lead over the mediums, and there's Montana who leads the way from Conor there in second, Lolvacar in third. There are the position changes, by the way. 5 positions gained obviously for Rocco. Maledictus is sped into the pit lane. Campbell as well is also into the pit lane. Reservoir, I think, got made in a bit of contact, potentially with Coxey, but he's now off the back end of the field by around 2.5 seconds or so. As I'm just messing up the telemetry here, so give me a second while I turn everything back on. There we go. Montana leads the way, Conor in second, Lolvacar in third. I think the next moves, though, are going to come from Verstappen. Down in 7th position, soft compound tyres on, already gaining a couple of positions off the start, 4 positions in fact to be exact, and Wouter there in front. There's obviously all over the back of Gary. Verstappen now stuck in a bit of dirty air, though, and I think that might come back and bite him, as actually Conor now applying pressure to Montana out in front.
I mean, Verstappen's he has sort of got what he would have hoped to get out of those soft tyres. He's gained 4 places off the start, but as you say, now stuck in a DRS train. You'd hope, we're only on lap 2, that he can make some more progress before he comes into the pits. But the fact that from Lolvacar, well, even from Montana down, everyone in this top 8 is going to be in a train, and I think that's going to be the case for a few laps, because Montana's hards will not be particularly quick for him to pull away and make a gap in that train for anyone to make some moves. So we could see a bit of a holding pattern up front for the time being, but even so, even if Montana is probably doesn't have the pace advantage over Conor and Lolvacar is at et al. Right now, he's certainly shut me up by taking the lead on the first lap, because even though those hards will be slower, he's got enough pace in his pocket that he's managing the situation absolutely beautifully.
Yeah, definitely so. I'm just looking out my window, by the way. It's absolutely teeming down outside, so hopefully you can all hear us okay. Hopefully it is going to be all okay in terms of the stream as well. But Montana leads the way, Conor in second, Lolvacar in third, and Conor now, of course, has got the DRS. The first DRS zone is down Raffles Boulevard in towards turn number 7, the left-hander. He's 4.5 turns away. I've seen moves from this far back come, and he might actually try and go for this, because he opens up the ERS, now turns it back off, and he's going to set him behind for now and wait on the back of Montana. We know what Conor is like, though. He's proven it in Miami, proven it, of course, in Circuit of the Americas as well, and proven it, of course, last week when he took the win in Italy. And Conor does like to play the waiting game on time, and normally, when he plays the waiting game, normally works out for him by winning, as he has a bit of snap of oversteer coming out of turn 8.
The trouble is for Conor with playing the waiting game here is he's on the wrong tyre for the second half of the race. He needs to clear Montana and gap him, so he's got something to work with when he's on the hard tyres and Montana takes the mediums. Otherwise, if they stay first and second as they are, when they come in for the pit stops in that order and switch, Montana suddenly got fresh medium versus Connor, who'll have a few lap old hard, Montana's going to run away with it. So if Connor's going to win this race, he's got to make a move sooner rather than later. He's got to try and force something. He can't afford to wait, as he did at Miami, as he did at Monza. He needs to force an opening this time, I feel like.
Yeah, who do you listen to, though? Do you listen to the teammate in your esports team, or your teammate actually behind you out on track? Because Lolvacar's there in third. He's pushing these guys along as well. And arguably, through the middle sector, he's actually quicker than Connor. So the Spaniard on the back, trying to gap Izza there for fourth. It's now 7/10 per second, pretty much out of slipstream range. And Lolvacar may just hold the key, potentially, to the castle. Maybe it clash with the castle later on. But Lolvacar on the back there of Connor, coming through turns 1, 2, and 3. On the back of him, what does he do, Connor? He has to surely go for the move down Raffles Boulevard. He used a bit of EOS now, just to gap into put him into about a 3/10 gap, and surely he's going to go for the move down Raffles Boulevard here, because the hard compounded tyres are not going to last for Montana. Here comes Connors, charging down Raffles Boulevard on the outside line. Now switches to the inside line. Montana's going to make it hard for him down the inside, and they make contact through turn number 6, and Lolvacar's been gapped as well and behind, as Connor now forces the issue around the outside through turn number 8. They go to war, the NSX teammates, and it's Connor who comes out on top. Montana with a snap of oversteer has now just let Lolvacar into play, and it's now Connor that leads the way. For Montana in second, Lolvacar in third. Lolvacar, though, has realised that his teammates got through. He now needs to follow suit.
Absolutely does. That is a massive move for Connor's race. He is in the fight for the win now. He's cleared Montana. He's got to make the most of those tyres while he's got them, though. We'll see how Lolvacar deals with Montana. Montana thought that a lot harder than I thought he would, given his position in the championship. He could have afforded to let it go. Lolvacar falls out to have a little look, spots his braking point, has to tuck back in. And, sorry, have you just seen something there?
Sorry, I thought Izza went on through the escape road, but he's not. He's fine. Continue.
I was just going to say, I want to give a little shout out to Carl Mentelis down in P9, not in the DRS, but he's keeping the gap to P's stable at about 1.4 seconds, which means Carl Mentelis is on the pace of Connor and Montana at the front of that train. And given that Carl Mentelis is on the hard tyres compared to those on the mediums ahead, Carl Mentelis is on the preferred strategy. He's matching the pace of those ahead of him, even though they don't have DRS and those ahead do. Carl Mentelis is in a great position here for the second half of this race to make some moves, because the lack of DRS isn't harming them at all. They've got cracking pace down there in P9 right now.
Yeah, Commenter certainly has got cracking pace indeed, and in fact, actually, he took about 2 or 3 tenths per second on the back of Pease. It seemed like the final sector is the one where obviously he wants to try and get those moves, or try and gap into that second gap once again, and then obviously follow the DRS train that's inevitably forming ahead of him with the likes of Verstappen, who is struggling to try and make ground, obviously, and obviously with Pease on the back, it could be that Pease actually tries to get the move on Verstappen sooner rather than later. Lap 5 out of 31 though, Connor leads the way, Montana in second, Lolvacar there in third. Currently, all good in love and war between the NSX teammates, but Connor has now gapped into about 8.5 tenths per second, coming down in through the Singapore sling for the 5th time. Oh, it's actually Montana has a huge snap of oversteer. He's lost a second now to across the Anderson Bridge. He's lost now a second to Connor. That was a huge snap of oversteer from Montana, nearly in the wall. Luckily kept it out. I don't know how he has. He's got no DRS. And that is the mistake that I think has just potentially cost him the race. That was huge from him. Absolutely huge. Connor leads the way. Montana second, Lolvacar third.
Connor spotted it, jumped on his ERS immediately, pulled away a couple of tenths down that straight, and now Montana's very vulnerable to Lolvacar. And this is gifted an opportunity to Connor, because Connor's problem was, because Montana was ahead for those first 2 laps, Connor didn't have those 2 laps without DRS to gap Montana. Then when he did pass Montana, Montana was in the DRS, Connor would struggle to get away. Now, Montana's handed that DRS gap to Connor, so Connor can now set about his work, pulling away. He's already stretched the gap by half a second since that mistake. It's 1.5. Look at Lolvacar closing into within half a second, and that train now is very much sizing up Montana's P2 right now, it looks like.
Yeah, definitely. So Jeroen has retired into the pit lane. I thought it was a crash coming through the final corner. Jeroen has retired into the pit lane. Disappointing first man out of the race. Here comes Lolvacar though on the back of Montana. Look at the speed that the Aston Martin's carrying. It's not going to go for the move though on the back. But I think if I was Lolvacar, I would have tried to go for the move, because I've got so much more speed than the car ahead. I know that the car ahead has just made a mistake as well. Why wouldn't you now apply more pressure to the back of Montana? In fact, I'll correct myself on that. I think Lolvacar's putting himself under pressure himself, and that is why he's not catching.
Quite possibly. I mean, Izzat's looking in a really good spot right now. I think all of them are. Gary is... I think he's made a little mistake somewhere because he's dropped a little bit of time, but Montana looks vulnerable. He doesn't look happy. I mean, we saw those scruffy moments from him qualifying, despite his pace, despite the fact we threw every superlative under the sun.
Oh, sorry to cut you off. Here comes Pease on the back of Verstappen around the outside and towards turn 14. This will be a great move. He can pull it off. And do you know what? He just has. Beautiful move by Pease around the outside of Verstappen. That is the softs absolutely burning up on this track now. Pease has made light work of Verstappen, through he's into 7th, and that all got set up because Verstappen made a mistake into the hairpin at turn 13.
Yeah, sexy stuff from Pease. That around the outside as well is not typical move you see there. Normally that's hairpins you expect to go around the inside, but I think with that is evidence of, as you say, Verstappen's tyres going off. But yeah, I was going to say is Montana's had a couple of scruffy moments in qualifying and in the race as well. And what's happened to Verstappen? He's into the pit lane. As you predicted, those soft tyres are scorched.
They are absolutely scorched. It's literally like he's been driving on hot lava, I think, for the last lap there or so. And now he's into the pit lane. He's obviously going to come out, I think, maybe ahead of his teammates here, which is going to be good. And in clear air, which is obviously going to be really good as well. He will go set a hard compounded tyres. I've seen them make beyond 25, 26 laps around here, so we'd be fine on that compounded tyre. Obviously, that was on the old game, though, so might be two-stop strategy to potentially come. That means, though, him going on set of hard compounded tyres, I think that was a fallacy, potentially, between the wet compounded tyres. Certainly, you'll need wet compounded tyres here in the north of England. Actually, it's stopped raining now in sunny Sunderland currently. Conrad on top, the Montana second, Lovercar in third, and now the gap pulling out to 2 seconds now between Connor and Montana, and all of that spawning from a mistake that happened 2 laps ago around this part of the track, coming across the Anderson Bridge, where he nearly went in the wall just before the Anderson Bridge. Luckily kept it out, and Lolvacar now senses blood in front of him on the run down towards turn 14.
He does indeed, and Gary's starting to look very vulnerable as well. Gary not got DRS on Izzat down that straight, and he's going to find himself in the clutches of Wouter very, very quickly. I said Carmelo was having a great race. Has made a mistake somewhere, or lost some time somewhere, because now drifted 2.4 seconds after holding that gap very steady for a long time. Connor's on a really good lap this lap, actually. He's extended that gap to Montana to over 2 seconds now. So I think we are... Oh, and the Lolvacar's into the pits.
That's early. That's really early from Lolvacar into the pits. See if anybody else follows him in. Just on board with the Yildirim on the back of Commensus. I think you're right, actually. Commensus must have made a mistake. Or he was just dropping out of DRS, because Pease was in the DRS train. He, I think, himself has made a mistake. And Yildirim obviously is on the back, and Rocco's on the back as well. He did that 3-wide move in F2 back when I commentated last around here in Singapore in League of Europe. He actually went around the outside of 2 cars through turn number 1 and was probably the sexiest move I think I've ever seen around Singapore, as Lolvacar out of the pits, clearly in front of Verstappen. There's Verstappen coming down the straight. Lolvacar a little bit over the white line. Oh, actually more over the white line, I think, on the exit of the pit lane. Not sure if the pit entries or exits are being covered by the stewards tonight. I don't think they were in the stewards' reports anyways. So Lolvacar might just escape with a bit of a slapped hand. There's actually Rezify around the outside of Coxey, just in front of Dan Raffles Boulevard, and Rezify through. He's into 14th, making light work of his fellow Relentless man.
Trial by fire, I think, for Coxey in his Division 1 debut. Not having the happiest of races. Was sluggish in qualifying. I think only out-qualified Maledictus, and now into 15th only with cars to have pitted behind him. And look at Wouter now, so close to the back of Gary. The gap, 0.4 of a second as they come through turn 14. Gary is well and truly fallen off the back of Izzat, and he was hunting one Ferrari. He's now very vulnerable to the other one.
He is indeed. I think Montana, by the way, made a mistake coming at the hairpin at turn 13. It's now 2.3 seconds. The gap was 2. So Montana now, maybe in terms of that sort of hard compounded size, he is just struggling to lie up with the pace of Connor. Connor's got 54% of EOS. Montana's on 44%. Not that that matters, as Gary is into the pit lane. Montana's teammate into the pit lane. Gary, the Irishman, of course, should be coming out around about Lolvacar. In between Lolvacar and Verstappen, I think, will be the best bet here for Gary coming out the pits. He's going to go once again onto a set of hard compounded tyre, and that should be him now lasting towards the end of the race, as Gary now will come out the pit lane. Rezify and Coxey will go through, and I think actually he might be side by side with the Lolvacar coming out the pit lane here, as Forza Brendan has just retired out on track coming through turn number 3, and that might be a safety car, and indeed it is, as Gary comes out the pit lane behind Lolvacar. Absolute godsend potentially there for Gary. Has that really affected him in terms of that pit stop? Because basically, he's just got a free pit stop over the whole field there.
Well, he has, but they're all going to be held to a delta until until the leader catches up to the safety car. So I think Gary would have served most of that pit stop under green flag. So I think he'd have lost more than he'll have gained. The people who have really lost out, I want to say, are the people who have started on the hard tyres. Montana and Car Mentalist among them, Jules Bream as well, and Rudy and Gladbach also in the top 10. They're not going to be able to pit here for mediums and go to the end. They've got to stay out. They've got to suffer that fate. Whereas Connor, Izzat, Wouter, Pease, they can all come in. The safety cars come in the natural pit window for them. They can put the hards on. They can go to the end. Montana, and it's a monstrously long pit lane here. It's about 24, 25 seconds. Montana's going to have to find that time from somewhere or hope for another safety car. Otherwise, his race is going to be ruined. He's going to find himself behind both Ferraris and Pease. In net race position, even Rocco potentially, who's on mediums right now. So this has really hurt, at least in this phase of the race, the hard starters. And Montana is coming in, so he's going to try and go mediums to the end, or he's going to go for a two-stop from here, because what else can he do?
It has to be two-stop, surely. It'd be unless he goes softs mediums. That potentially could work. Hard compound tyres in the Ferrari garage there. Montana, of course, in the AlphaTauri garage, and that is going to be a set of medium compounded tyre. I thought he might have gone with softs, to be honest, but he's gone mediums, he's gone conservative. 21 laps on a set of mediums, I think it's nigh on impossible around this track. They can only last for around 9 or 10 before they really start to go off the cliff, and we saw that with Verstappen's tyres. They only lasted 6 or 7, and then he was in the pit lane, and he's been on those hard for 3 laps now. So Lolvacar, by the way, is coming out the pit lane, oh sorry, Pease and them are coming out the pit lane. Lolvacar is ahead of Pease coming out the pit lane, but he has lost track position because of the safety car to Izza ahead of him. So Izza's now ahead of Lolvacar. Gary, by the way, has just got sneakily ahead of Pease as well on the pit lane exit.
He was so lucky there, Gary, that the game afforded him that place. I'm not sure he was entitled to it if this had been real life, but he has just nabbed P9. He's not lost out too much, luckily, for Gary. So he did save enough time under the safety car. If the safety car had come out 10 seconds later, Gary would have been absolutely in the mud. As it is, he's held on to a net P5 right now behind Lolvacar. Izzat is now in P3. So obviously Lolvacar, who had pitted earlier on, has lost out to Izzat thanks to that safety car period. And Rocco is in a good position. So Rocco's only had 1 point so far this season. He's in a net P8, which is very good for him. He's on course for 5 points right now. I mean, that would be assuming this race situation stays as it is. But Rocco desperately needs some points, desperately needs a good result, and the safety car has fallen into his lap here. And I'm excited to see the likes of Connor, Montana come through the 4 who haven't pitted, because clearly those guys will just be going long for a safety car. I was in that situation where I started hards in D1 Singapore. I don't think you remember season 4. I was having a great race. Safety car came out at the exact same time, lap 10, and I was just ruined for the rest of that race because I lost my pit stop to everyone else who started on the softs or the mediums. And I just hope the same fate doesn't fall Car Mentalist, Jules Bream, Rudy Gladbach, who've been having really solid races up to this point.
Yeah, definitely so. I'm not sure where you finished, by the way. Did you actually finish in Singapore in Division 4? In Division 1, Season 4?
I don't think I did, because when the safety car came out, my head went, because I was like, my race is over. Which is the thing that these 4 guys have to not do. It's a long race to go. We're only a third of the way through it. We've probably got like nearly 40 minutes of racing to go. They've got to not lose their heads as I did, and hope something will come their way, because there's still a great chance of points for these guys, even if in a net race right now they are all at the back.
Yeah, definitely. So comments are still leading the way. Yildirim there in second, Rudy there in third. Nolan, by the way, there in the chat saying, feel like the medium runners may as well pit back onto hards, or do they not have another set? I believe around here they only get 1 set of the medium compounded tyres. It's normally a most track you only get one set of medium compounded tyres. So I think Montana is on his sole set, so potentially I could honestly see Montana going mediums, trying to get ahead of Connor, And then if he gets enough of a gap to around 3 or 4 seconds, I think he'll then put in for sort of soft compound tyres if something else happens in the race. I think he'll put in for sort of softs, and then he'll absolutely mow everyone down in the later stages of this race. And J. Cole as well in the chat saying Ryan and Coxey not doing too good, but Debbie for F1 isn't a bad start. Yeah, he's down in 17 on a sort of medium compound tyres though, and I think obviously when commences, Yildirim, Rudy and Gladbach come in the pit lane, that's going to exacerbate itself. Campbell obviously is going to be in the pit lane as well, as will Maledictus, one would imagine. So all of those guys in a set of mediums, yeah, they might have to make another pit stop. Yeah, they can get to the end of the race. If they get to the end of the race, they've got a good chance potentially of points a little bit later on. Jav saying as well, last time I did an LOE Singapore race, we finished just before midnight, as the safety car is going to be coming in. They're slapping his comments. So let's see who's the virtual Bert Malander. He is now the virtual safety car. Not a position I don't think he'd like to afford himself to be in, to be honest. But Yildirim there in second, Rudy in third. If I was in these 4 guys' shoes, I honestly will try and set my stall out and say, park the bus, because Connor and Montana will be backed up into Izza, and you've got Commensus who's leading the pack, who's of course part of the Relentless team, so why wouldn't you?
The absolutely best chance they've got is to park the bus. Carmental isn't part of Relentless anymore, actually, now independent, but yeah, their best chance is to park the bus. I did a safety car restart here in D2 Season 3. I got a lot of flack from it. I made about 6 mortal enemies that day, because I started to go and I went too soon and the game slowed me down and I nearly caused carnage. When's Carmentalist going to go? Be
Final
brave
corner
to go in the middle of the last corner, because the traction will feel awful. But he's gone now, and he's caught Yildirim napping. And look at Gladbach on the back of Rudy there towards turn 1. Rudy was very caught napping there.
And Montana's right on the back of Connor and the safety car restart as well, and he goes round the outside of turn number 1. He's going to be boxed in. Connor's on the inside line. Montana's trying to absolutely outmuscle him around the outside. This is unbelievable. Sideways on a turn 3. Goodness me, Montana absolutely sent that. He wanted to go for the move. He's now meaning business, and Gladbach, as you say, was on the back of Rudy, all on the back, and Montana was round in the background. What happened?
He just drops it out of turn 5. Montana saw red after he got the elbow from Connor through turn 2. He was twitching all the way through 3 and 4, lit up the rear tyres out of 5, and Montana plummets to P18 with tyres that probably won't make it to the end of the race. His race is in tatters right now.
It is indeed, and Connor now on the back of Gladbach running down the Singapore Sling. Drama though, the current 4-time League of Division 1 champion, the current leader of the championship in Montana, spinning out of turn number 5, dropped it by himself. We commented in qualifying as Rosa's going side by side with Peason towards the hairpin, nearly getting the job done there. Dan as well on the back of Campbell coming through the hairpin. But yeah, unbelievable what has happened there. But Montana, though, was already caught up by a second to the back of Maledictus and Coxey. I was going to say Roxy there for a second. Dan around the outside of Campbell, though. That's a beautiful move around the outside of turn number 14. Gets the job done, Campbell. He's into 13. Montana, though, is on the back of this big old DRS train, pretty much just spawning from Commensus right in front. Then Yildirim second, Rudy in third, Gladbach in fourth. It's unchanged pretty much for first, second, third, fourth and fifth. Only being an exception is Montana down a few positions, obviously after that spin, and he's down at the back of the field. Connor, though, hasn't really had the best start. I would have predicted him to get past Gladbach off the start. Reservoir, by the way, is into the pit lane, and I wonder if that is either for a change of compound tyre or a bit of front wing damage, as Dan on the back of Verstappen.
Front wing damage for Reservoir. His right front end plate was missing. In Connor's case, I don't think he had. Now Montana's out of the game. His main rival's gone. He doesn't have to fight those guys ahead too hard. He knows they're going to pit. Of course, he'd like the comfort blanket of having Izzat and Lollicart a little out of the way, but it's a risk he doesn't need to take right now. Dan passes Verstappen there on the medium tyres for Dan. He's getting 2 places in 2 laps, both on the Alfa Romeos. And you mentioned Montana coming to Maledictus and Coxey. And if I know Ariel Coxey, and I like to think I do, he will be licking his lips at the thought of having Montana behind him. And I just caught there, Montana had another big slide out of turn 8, but Coxey will be begging for Montana to be behind him, because he will make that Red Bull as wide as he possibly can.
Connor's on the back, Connor's under pressure from Izzat. Izzat's right on the back of him, coming through the hairpin and through the middle sector there. Coxey, though, has been overtaken by Maledictus into the hairpin. I think that was the saying, and now Coxey is now side by side with his teammate, and the Red Bull is now trying to get all the elbows out. Montana forced into the wall by Coxey. Coxey forces Montana into the wall and says, you know what, yeah, Montana's absolutely angry with that. Absolutely fuming. Doesn't want to let that go, and I think Coxey with that 3-second penalty, that's a bit of karma and retribution potentially for the AlphaTauri. But the AlphaTauri now all over the back. Coxey nearly into the wall coming out of 18 as well. Absolutely holding no prisoners, the Red Bull man. And now look at Montana. He's right on the back. I wouldn't be surprised actually if Montana's got left side end plate damage potentially from that as well. He's over the back of him, and this is the closest battle, by the way. It's Coxey speeds his way through the final corner. Montana on the wanted line, not going to get this job done for now, but Commencer leads the way. Yildirim in second, Rudy in third. Back to the battle for fourth though, because it is holding up as Connor now right on the back of Gladbach, and Gladbach will be hoping that Connor doesn't do a Bayern Munich on him as he comes now down in Raffles Boulevard once again on the run down, and this is absolutely easy pickings now for Connor to the outside line through 6, now through the outside of turn number 7 at Memorial Corner, gets it done on the brakes, beautiful move, Connor through and he's into fourth, and now puts a car crucially between himself and Izza as Montana and Coxey, round 2.
Oh, side by side through 7, and again, this time it's Montana giving Coxey the shove. And Montana, I don't want to say his head's gone, but he is furious. He was weaving out behind Coxey, letting him know how angry he was. He cut the last corner as well, definitely picked up a warning there, uncharacteristic for Montana on the last lap. So he's not a happy bunny, and I know that 3-second penalty for Coxey would not have stopped him fighting Montana one jolt, but that's the kind of no quarter given fighting you want to see. You don't want to see people jump out of Montana's way because he's NSX Montana. You want to see everyone fight for every position, and that was brilliant stuff from Coxey. And as you say, Connor very much now gapping is at, because Gladbach nearly a second back already. Connor hounding Rudy, hustling that Williams, the back of that Williams through these last complex of corners, and Yildirim in P2 derating away while Carl Mentelis in the race lead has a 75% of his heirs. Carl Mentelis is in a cracking position here, but for the fact there's another pit stop to come for them.
But imagine if a safety car comes out though before the pit stops are actually made. They will go, potentially, set a soft compounder tyre. Down on the back of Rocco, by the way, is the cloud, I think, has now begun to build over the circuit. Certainly got a little bit hazier up above, potentially either clear air. We don't know if it is cloudy above the circuit, to be honest. I'm just trying to make things up as we go along. Down a little bit of snap of oversteer turn out of turn number 3. Maledictus, by the way, is now under pressure from Montana. As actually Connor is under pressure, is now pressurising Rudy around the outside, down in towards Memorial Corner at turn 7. Easy work once again, and Connor overtakes the PSGL 3 champion, and Izza now holds no bounds on the back of Gladbach there, and Lolvercar's now side by side with him through turn number 8, and Gladbach's going to be surely forced out to dry here. Lolvercar, beautiful move around the outside of turn 8, gets the job done. Montana also through, by the way, and Maledictus down Raffles Boulevard, and he's through, and he's into 15th position. Nolan, by the way, saying in the chat there as well, I'd report that if I was Coxey. It seemed a bit aggressive to me. Yeah, they were side by side, but you can't force your opponent into the wall. That's a rule of racing.
Yeah, you can't. I think Montana gave Coxey a shove. Coxey gave Montana a shove. I think all's fair on that one. We've got, is that Dan and Rocco going at it there towards turn 14. I'm not sure if Rocco was overtaken there or was being overtaken. But anyway, he's got P11 still holding on to the points positions there. Gladbach sinking like a stone now, isn't he? And to put into context how bad the situation is for those who haven't pitted on the hards yet, when Carl Mentelis pits, they'll come out around about 15 seconds behind the back of Coxey, which even if you're on a fresh set of mediums, you're not going to make that up. And another safety car is needed, and their only hope is to keep those cars out for as long as they possibly can. So I think we're going to see a Hail Mary of a strategy here from those. And is that, yes, out the inside of Rudy there, and another of those hard starters sinks through the field.
I think that was a mistake there from Rudy, actually coming to the final 2 corners, though. The double left-hander of 22 and 23 is there through, and he's into 4th. Connor hounding the back of Yildirim like a houndy little thing. The Aston Martin on the back of the Haas. No DRS as well for Yildirim. Easy work. Connor's through it into 2nd, and he doesn't even break sweat while doing so, as Gary might have to try and work for the back of Gladbach. He's on the outside line now. Gladbach pulls across on him in towards turn number 6. This will be a beautiful move around the outside, and Gary pulls it off around the outside through Memorial Corner at turn 7. There's a yellow flag, and that's Reservoir in the wall on the other side of the track. Hopefully not going to be producing a PK gate there through turn number 18. Gladbach there on the back though of Gary, loses the position, and he might lose another one very soon to Pease, who's all the back of him, and Pease wants his gravy.
He does indeed, and the interesting thing here is that depending where people are getting past Gladbach, it's causing some splits in the field. Gary is having to...
Oh, there's contact! Oh. Sorry to cut you off. There's contact through And Pease, too late, he spied a gap. The gap was always going to close. Gladbach forced out the way. Now Wouter side by side with him on the run up towards turn 14, and then let Wouter through, and he's into 8th position. Rocco and Gladbach side by side, but Rocco through as well, and Gladbach just lost 3 positions for the price of 1.
The kind of corner, you caught me off guard, the kind of corner where you don't expect an overtake because you approach it so slowly. It's not a very long braking zone, but you can take such a wide line into the hairpin at turn 13 that it can give the illusion that there's an opening. It's kind of like turn 15 at Kota, where there's such a wide entry to the corner, you feel like you can send it, and really there isn't the space. And Pease there, I think, was a little bit naughty, shall we say, having that send.
Oh, here's Montana! Montana on the back of Verstappen down the inside line. Sorry to cut you off again, and he actually goes diving it down the inside line. He's got the car stopped. Verstappen gave him the room there, and Montana gets another mistake.
Cut turn 2 in the process, though. Probably got another warning. I think Montana's only 1 warning now away from a penalty.
Oh my God.
And look, we've got a double overtake here. Connor for the lead, and Lolbacar passing Rudy both into turn 7. We've seen some fabulous overtaking today. It's been a class show of it. We've seen so many overtaking moves round the outside as well. And look at Dan now round the outside of Gladbach into turn 8. That is hinged right up against the wall.
Beautiful.
He switches to the inside to turn 9, and Montana's following him through there up the inside of turn 9. It's going to be a drag race down towards 10, and Gladbach's got no ERS to fight with, but doesn't want to give that place up too easily. But Montana is through and is continuing his charge back up the field.
Absolutely unbelievable. Yeah, 4 moves to the price of 1 as Gladbach's nearly in the wall, and he is in the wall, and Campbell's out of the race. Gladbach in the wall, I think has got left side end plate damage. Now, is that going to bring out a safety car? It does. And Con Mentalist now is licking his wet lips at this stage, because Connor and Izza will probably come in for a set of medium compound tyres, one would imagine. This is perfect for the hard runners. I did say if a safety car would come out, this would save them. They all haven't pitted. Con Mentalist, Yildirim and Rudy. Is this now going to do the effect? Connor and Izza could obviously stay out, but Commentalist and the likes, who haven't pitted in so far, should go, I think, set of mediums. Connor, I think, is going to be coming in here. No, he stays out! Connor stays out!
Doesn't have another set of mediums. You only get 1 mediums and 1 hards for the race, so he'd have to go 14 laps on the soft tyres, which I can't see happening. So everyone who pitted under the first safety car, they've got to stay out. They've got no other tyres they can use. Incredulous what Montana's going to put on it. If he puts softs on and he makes them to the end, that will be nothing short of a miracle.
Hard. It's hard.
He's going back onto the hards. He started the race.
And from wing change.
That's why. But Montana's going to be on 9-lap-old hards here. So, he has such a good recovery. He's thrown himself right to the back of the pack.
And Reservoir's just picked up a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car as well, just as you do. Reservoir by himself there at the back end of the field, but Montana set a hard compound tyres, 9-lap-old hard compound tyres, by the way. There's no fresh compound tyres, and look at how squirrely he was coming out the pit lane. I'm just going to make a prediction now. We thought Montana possibly could have picked up a top 3. I don't think he's even getting to the end of the race here because he's been all over the shop tonight. Unfortunately for him, this is the race, like Bahrain last season, where of course he spun it under the safety car in season 6. Montana is having one of those races where it just isn't going to plan, and it's affording everyone else who's around him in the championship. Connor, for example, obviously leading the way. Izza there in second, Lolbacar in third. They're all going to be picking up points, and Montana, unless there's another late safety car later on in this race, has got absolutely no chance, maybe even to pick up points here.
It's going to be a struggle. Reservoir into the pits for what feels like the 18th time today. Montana, he doesn't rain for him, but it certainly does pour, and he is having a pouring race. That wing damage, I can only assume that was when he got squeezed, pinched up against the wall by Coxey. I can't think there was any other moment when Montana was in combat where he might have got picked up some damage unless he just nicked the wall by himself somewhere. So who's in the great position in this race right now? I don't want to... Carl Mentalist and Yildirim, Rudy, Gladbach, they're in an okay place, but they're so far down the field. They've got awful track position. I still think this is very much Connor is in a great position here. Dan is in a bit of an odd one. 8-lap-old mediums. Those tyres will struggle to get into the end in a usable state. So I don't think there's anyone here who's in a great situation. Everyone has got something they're fighting with, whether it's track position for those on fresh mediums or aging tyres for those who do have good track position. I don't think anyone will be feeling particularly happy right now. which makes me happy because it means we're probably going to have a fun restart.
I've honestly got to say, I think Wout's in a really good position. Fifth place at the minute. Gary's on a lap older tyres compared to him. Lolvacar's on 2 lap older tyres to him. Wouter basically has got about 10% more in terms of potential tyre wear over Lolvacar and 5% more than Gary at this stage. And if that is the case, Wouter, I think, has been showing a pretty good pace as well. He's been pulling away from Pease. Pease, I think, could become the cork in the bottle further down. Wouter, I think, is in a really good position. In there in 5th. Rocco as well, 7th position. King of overtaking around here in F2, of course, a couple of seasons ago. And Rocco does like Singapore as well, so I think he's got a really good chance. As you say, the common formalities basically come Angelis, Yilbream, Rudy Gladbach. Yeah, they've all got chances, but they've got a wall of cars in front of them. And do you genuinely see Commensus, Yilbream, Rudy and Gladbach being the top 4 by the end of this race? I don't think so whatsoever.
No, I think by the time they make any kind of forward progress, they will have used up the best of their tyres, and they'll be in a similar situation to those on the hard. So we will get another lap under SC, by the way, because of reservoir. So a safety car will come in, I would presume, at the end of lap 20. And also, we've got quite a big pace split, I think, in the field right now. The top 7 are all sort of in a similar ballpark. I put a question mark over Rocco based on how his season's gone so far, but the top 6 certainly, I think they're all in a similar ballpark for pace. Connor a little bit ahead. But Dan, Verstappen, Maledictus, Coxey, it's obvious from the first 19 laps of this race that those guys aren't quite on the same level of pace. They struggled a bit. I mean, Maledictus and Coxey down the back of the field. Dan and Verstappen haven't had great seasons so far. They are very much a 4-car massive cork in the bottle, and then they've got Carmentis, Gilbert, Rudy and Gladbach, who are on decent pace on fresh tyres, and then you've got Montana behind them, who is on mammoth pace but terrible tyres. There's such an interesting dynamic in that second part of the field from Dan downwards, where you've got slower cars on older tyres, quick cars on very quick tyres, and then a mammothly quick driver on old tyres, and I'm just fascinated as to how that's going to go down.
Yeah, Montana's big problem, though, down in 16th, is Gladbach. Well, I would say that's at least one of the problems now gone. For now, out of the session. Gladbach has just left the session. I think it might be a disconnect potentially on his end there. But Montana there in 16th position. He's on 11-lap all compound tyres. He's basically on the same strategy as the front half of the field, the front 10 or 11 drivers of this field. He's potentially on that same strategy. And at this moment in time, Montana, I don't think is going to get beyond 10th position potentially tonight, because he needs, honestly, a huge crash potentially in front of him. 3-4 cars involved, safety car coming out for him to get back even into contention, and then we're talking about him still fighting through traffic towards the back end of the race. But Connor, leading the way, has got everything now pretty much wrapped up in his little hands that is on his steering wheel right now. Connor has pretty much got this race win, I think, wrapped up even this early in the stage. But remember, like one famous commentator in Formula 1 said, this is Formula 1 and anything can happen, and it probably will.
Yes, indeed. The late great Murray Walker. How I miss him. What a voice. What a man. But yeah, Montana, what you need, as you said, he needs another safety car. He needs everyone to go onto fresh softs. He needs a level playing field, and then he can let rip into those ahead of him. But his problem is that the people ahead of him are the ones on the fresh tyres. He's going to struggle to make any progress through those. So he needs to wait for Carmentis, Gilbert, Rudy Gladbach to get past Dan Verstappen, Maledictus, Coxey before he can do the same. Because I can't see Montana, goat that he is in LOE, getting past those guys on those tyres to start with. He needs to wait for them to filter up before he can filter up. And as you say, I think a top 10 finish from this point with no other safety cars is the best he can hope for.
Yeah, Michael Massey, by the way, has just joined the comment section, which is what I was laughing at a little bit in the background. So, welcome, Michael. Hopefully you don't F over another race, potentially, tonight here in Singapore. Connor leads the way. It's a second. Lovell Corin third. We are under the virtual Burt Malander in Connor's case, and obviously I think he's going to be going on the exit, I think, of turn 22. The final 2 corners, I think, because the safety car is taking a little bit of its time to get into the pit lane. Lovell Corin leaving a big gap. He now closes that gap back up, though, to the back of his Izza, and now everyone is going to be fighting for the same part of track as Connor now says go out of turn 22, exactly where I expect him to go. He has, and Izza actually right on his coattail as Wouter right on the coattail of Gary is side by side on the outside line in towards turn number 1. Ferrari against the AlphaTauri tries to go all the way around the outside. It'd be a brilliant move from Wouter if he can pull it off. The Irishman's still on the inside, banging wheels are in the wall, and the Haas nearly gets pulled up there as well. P's on the inside, and it's 3 wide and towards turn number 5. Don't want to be going 3 wide to here, and Rocco just absolutely sends it down the inside line. Gary now could have been a bit of contact as well. Rocco loses all those positions, and look who's making the positions up. Commensalist right on the back of Rocco, and now Rocco's going to be under pressure. Maledictus under pressure as well. Commensalist surely going to dive this down the inside line. Rocco goes around the outside. I don't know what Commensalist is probably thinking at this stage. Used to are absolutely mad in front. He's probably what he's thinking as Rocco dives it down the inside line. Maledictus now goes backwards, and Maledictus now 3 wide in the background as now Yulbream dives it down the inside line. And look at that, Rudy is now getting involved in this as well. Maledictus and Yulbream have an absolute shocker of a start, and Montana has just had a bit of collision there with Gladbach AI as well.
What a restart this has been. Pease, Gary, Rocco, all nearly died at turns 4 and 5, and then Dan nearly ploughed into the back of Rocco as well. And look at this, we've got, as you say, Carl Mendelis and Rocco towards turn 14. Carl Mendelis is probably going to send this around the outside, but Rocco breaks nice and late, and Carl Mendelis tuck back underneath, get the traction those medium tyres. The run isn't long enough. Gladbach rejoins session, albeit in last place, and nothing to do with Carl Mendelis, but it's been perhaps as good a restart as Carl Mendelis can hope right now. Dan's had a good one as well, up in P7. Those medium tyres aren't showing any sign of slacking off. Connor's not having it all his own way either up front. He's not managed to gap Izzat for the time being, and we've seen 3 cars wide about 3 times on that lap. It's been a fascinating lap, James, and everyone has still got their front wings. I say that, Resifies into the pit lane.
Commensalist on the back of Rocco down and towards turn number 1, pulls alongside, should get the job done, the Alpine. Down the inside, oh, he gets caught on the curb, and now actually doesn't force the move because Rocco back around the outside gets that job done. Watch out for Rudy and all of this. Rudy looks the quickest out of everyone on that sort of medium compound of tyres. The Williams is on the back, obviously, of the Haas of Yulbream, who's obviously been caught up in a little bit of scrimmaging as well. And Rudy, PSGL F3 champion, may I remind you, PSGL F1 race winner as well. Oh, not race winner, but race runner-up, I think, this season so far. He's obviously on the back there in 12th position. Montana, not entirely out of this. He's going to be coming into a Coxie battle as well, just in front. Round 3 better begin potentially from them two as well. And Coxie, obviously, on that compound of tyres is going to be around the same point as Montana at this stage. Connor, by the way, explodes away. 1.6 seconds the gap over Izza. Izza there in second. Lulvacar in third. Wouter in fourth. Well, we know who's going to win this race. We don't know who's going to be on the podium as Carl Mendelis once again on the back of Rocco. Nearly forcing it down the inside line of turn 13. Gets a switch back out of turn 13 on the run towards turn 14. No DRS, of course, enabled this lap around, but the Alpine on the back of the Mercedes, I think, is just going to tuck in, and there's a yellow flag, and that is Resify again.
I think the best thing Resify can do for the safety of the race right now is just come in and retire. I'm not sure how many pit stops it's been. It has been 3 for Resify, and a few penalties as well. Carl Mendelis can't find a way through, and has he hit the wall? Yeah, has he hit the wall somewhere?
He's still continuing on, but you cannot lose a second. I think it's left side end plate. I think the left side end plate, the winglet is missing off the left side end plate. It's not the actual end plate itself. It's a winglet on the actual front end of the car that I think is missing. Carl Mendelis, by the way, once again on the back of Rocco, who's derating down the straight, trying to get the job done in towards turn number 1. Connor, unless he's got some sort of god pace about him here tonight, has just not pulled away 1.2 seconds from Izza in one lap of this race, because Izza surely has got damage on that car. Lulvacar there in third, Wouter there in fourth, Gary there in fifth. Wouter, as I said, very good start from him and back in the safety car. Carl Mendelis now side by side again with Rocco down the inside line in towards turn number 7. Down at Memorial Corner, tries to get the job done. Now forced the outside line. Rocco's going to be on the inside. Carl Mendelis, if I was him, I'd try the up and under. But he's got Yulbream on the back of him. And now down the inside of turn number 9. Thought there was going to be contact there. That's why I stopped for a minute. But Rocco there in 9th, still fighting very hard indeed.
This is prime Rocco. This is Rocco at his absolute best, in his element. He's making that Mercedes as wide as he can. Carl Mendelis going to send it out the inside of turn 13. He is, then he hits the side of Rocco.
Oh, and he's in the wall.
Rocco sent into the wall, and Rocco's stoic defence of 9th place comes to an end there at turn 13. He's going to need a new front wing. That is unfortunate for Rocco, but like I said earlier on, there's such a wide entry into turn 13. It feels like you can send it when really you can't, because it narrows up so much on the exit. Carmentis fancied their chances and sadly has hit the side of Rocco, and I think ruined both their races there. I imagine Carmentis got some damage, quite possibly.
Yeah, Mark saying in the chat there, Prime Rocco. Yeah, the Prime Rocco being absolutely sent by Carmentis there into the wall, and unfortunately Rocco Reggie for real really bites back, I think, here tonight. Rudy on the back of Carmentis though, all over the back of him in towards turn number 1. Commentator against driver in PSGL F1, and now the driver's going to try and outskill the commentator as he goes around the outside, he's in the wall. Commentator in the wall, bit of decent contact I think between them both there. Got caught on the contact model I think. Commentator has lost his front wing completely. And Rocco was probably going to be looking on. Oh, he's in the pit lane, Rocco, in fact. Rocco in the pits with the left side end plate damage, I think, on the car.
We've got
Coxie
Dan
now
and Pease
side by
into
side
turn
with him.
7. We've got Dan and Pease into turn 7, turn 8, sorry to come across you, James. They're going to be side by side through 8, and Dan pinches Pease up against the wall. Pease has to concede the place. Those tyres, 14 laps old though they may be, are not giving up on Dan just yet, and he's on course for a cracking result. It was best for the season. Up into P6 there.
Yeah, up into P6, he's doing very good indeed. Yildirim on the back of Verstappen as well. Now, Prime Yildirim on the back of Verstappen, who's a bit of an icon here in LOE. He is in QVR as well, but Yildirim on the back of him, surely going to try and get the job done down towards turn 14. You know where he's going to send this, down the inside, surely, for a dummy. He actually holds off and not going for the move now with the switch back out of 14. Wait, again, Yildirim on the back of Verstappen. If I was him, I'd be making the moves now before they are too late as Coxie's round.
Yeah, Coxie was side by side with Gladbach into 13, just lit up the rear tyres, trying to keep the fight up, and drops to 15th place.
Connor leading the way, 4.3 seconds. I think it's a genuine pace angle compared to Izza, who has just lost another 8 tenths per second that last lap around. It's been increasing 1.2 seconds, 8 tenths per second, 8 tenths per second. Consistent gains from Connor, and Connor at the minute has got 35% of ERS. Izza's got 40%. He's just absolutely class above the rest at this stage. Commentus, as we say, into the pit lane. Unfortunately for him, he's now going to be coming side by side with Rocco, potentially coming out the pit lane as well, which could be quite entertaining. Yildirim on the back of Verstappen, though, right on the back of him, coming through turn number 5, down Raffles Boulevard, and Rudy is now going to try and maybe make this 3-1. Look at the speed of Rudy, closing in. Verstappen now hamming in on Yildirim, and Rudy's going to dive this down the inside and towards turn 7. Beautiful move, he can pull this off. Yildirim around the outside, though, holds on. And Rudy, though, now on the outside for turn number 8. Both get the job done on either side. Parting on the Red Sea in Singapore. Yildirim through, he's into 8th. Rudy in 9th. Verstappen in 10th. Verstappen done like an absolute kipper.
We had so much spectacular racing today. That was brilliant all round from Yildirim and Rudy. They gave space, they gave respect, and they gave us some cracking entertainment as well. But Yildirim's problem is he's derating away. He's down at 8%. Rudy has a minuscule excess on that. But everyone, I think, is really struggling in the earth stakes now, although Montana's got a little bit to spare, as does Maledictus. Montana now up into the points, has got 2 points to his name for now, and that could be crucial coming in the season. Connor is on course to cut Montana's lead over him from, I think, 73 points down to, I want to say, 52 right now, because Connor's got fastest lap, and his fastest lap, by the way, James, over a second quicker than anyone else in the field right now, and that's on old hard.
So impressive. Maybe we should be talking about him in the same aspect as what we talk about Brendan Lee and Jarno Opmeer and the rest. Is he a potential F1 esports star of this future? Maybe if he turns up his ABS, yes. Connor leads the way. Izza in second. Ulvacar there in third. Aston Martin on the back of the Ferrari. And looking quite close, actually, Ulvacar. He has been showing glimpses of pace in the past. This is his first race, I think, actually, since the start of the season. Of course, in Bahrain, where he finished, I think, third, if I'm not mistaken. Ulvacar is doing a sterling job here tonight. Izza, the homeboy hero, is going to try and hope for that second position. The Aston Martin are right on the back. And do you know what? He's got double the amount of ERS over him as Yildirim and Rudy side by side again. These two, and Rudy goes around the outside now for the inside of turn number 8. Surely going to get this job done. Yildirim now tries to hem him on the outside, and Yildirim puts him in the wall. Rudy, I should say, puts him in the wall. Very difficult. I think it was just contact on contact there that caused that. Rudy through and he's into 8th. Yildirim in 9th, and arguably Rudy had the position because he had the car ahead.
Yeah, hopefully for Julbrim's sake, he didn't get any damage off that from being pinched against the wall. Looks like he's fine through that Singapore sling section. In that as well, Montana passed Verstappen for P10. Another point to Montana's name. And you wouldn't write off him challenging Julbrim and Rudy as well in the laps ahead, because he's not too far off the back of that. And where is Gladbach?
Down the inside of turn 14, 12th position, gets the job done. Gladbach through and he's into 12th, makes light work of Maledictus.
And look at Lolvacar up ahead, 0.4 per second through behind Izat, staying really close through the final second. This could be Lolvacar's best chance to make a move, because he's going to be very close for the first DRS zone down the main straight, and then he'll have another helping between turns 5 and 7 to come. This could be Lolvacar's best shot with just 5 laps to go here.
Yeah, definitely so. Lolvacar on the back of Ezra. Nolan, by the way, saying in the chat, how does Rudy still get to drive here? Well, he is a full-time driver, of course, and he is third in the championship, so maybe you can look at your own performances rather than commenting on somebody else's. Lolvacar on the back of Izza, running down Raffles Boulevard, the Spaniard on the back of the Ferrari, running down in towards turn number 7, but I don't think he's going to get the job done. I was a little bit forceful there, to be honest, with that comment towards Nolan. I apologise in advance. But yeah, Rudy, I think, honestly, it was contact on contact more than anything else, and him... It's a bit like the comments with Rocco. Send it down the inside of turn 13. Basically the same at turn number 8. Wall's on the left-hand side there. And you pretty much got no other track apart from going in the wall. And that's why I think Rudy there is in 8th position. And Nilbeam there in 9th position. Thinking that we'll let that one go. Maybe until the steward's room, where he might obviously try and bounce that back.
Yeah, we'll see. I think D1's been quite clean today. I think we'll probably see maybe a report, as you say, for Rudy, for Coxey, I'm sure, from Montana as well, possibly. Someone I want to hone in on a little bit. We've not mentioned him too much, but Dan is still keeping those tyres alive. He's in a position here where he can challenge Gary. Gary is clinging by his fingernails to Wouters' DRS, and he has got a little bit of DRS to use, but Dan is in a position here where he can have a top 5 finish. And I don't think Dan, no disrespect to him, he's only got 1 point so far this season, which was at Kota. And Dan's about to... He could get a top 5 finish. This could be a performance of the season from Dan, I think. Certainly relative to where his pace has been so far. He's in a great position.
Yeah, definitely. So Rudy as well impressed me in terms of his pace. I did say he was clear of the medium runners in terms of the pace. Exactly so. P8 currently, obviously put Yildirim in the wall, we'll gloss over that, but he can make up for it here on the back of Pease, his teammate. As Pease now going to hang back on the back, obviously to try and get this job done. Absolutely blocks the road, does Pease. Rudy around the outside through turn number 7 is not going to have this one. Surely it's going to be a dive in towards turn 8, another force into the wall here. I hate to see it coming. Pease though hangs it around and they're both in the wall, and that's what happens there. Pease.
Rudy.
Yeah.
Rudy should have given
car.
That one
It's
up.
A safety car.
And we're going. I don't think if anyone pits, they're mad, unless Coxey, because he's at the back. But yeah, Rudy. I feel like he should have given that one up sooner. Given the nature of the corner, turn 8, it's so tight. I think Pease was far enough ahead there that Rudy wouldn't gain anything by keeping his car in. He should have given that up a little sooner than he did. I think just normally, if that was a wide corner with space on the exit where there's runoff, by all means, Rudy, keep yourself in there, try and get the outside of turn 9. But I think with the nature of the track and the corner and the walls closing in, I think the sensible thing for Rudy there was to give that one up. And he didn't recognise it perhaps as soon as he could have done, because once the wheels locked together, there's nothing either the driver can do. Pease, I think, certainly could have done much more there. He was forced right to the outside. I'd say it's one of those things, but I think Rudy could have been a little more circumspect there. Montana into the pits, and Rudy struggling to get into the pits.
Is Montana going to come out behind Coxey here? Maybe coming out the pit lane? Oh no, they're all in behind him. It's fine. I'll just take that comment back. Rudy into the pit lane as well. He's obviously got front wing damage as well as a result of that contact with Pease. Again, to be honest, you could apportion blame to maybe both drivers. Pease being very hard in terms of his defence. I think there was more on Rudy though, to be honest there. Rudy needs to learn, I think, now how to calm it down out on track. and obviously to try and hone in his really good performances that he has been putting in PSGL F1. No, it's not as serious as PSGL, of course, here in LOE, but if I was Rudy, I'd try and take that on the chin, try and take that as a bit of a comment from the lead commentator here, and obviously try and deliver a really good performance. He's on a set of soft compound tyres though. However, I think the safety car is only going to be out for this lap, so is Montana, Verstappen, Maledictus and the likes going to get on the back of the safety car queue in time? Because it is a very short track. Safety car normally goes quite quick around this part of the track as well. They're going to have to gun it on this lap because, as Commentless and Rudy have now basically stopped out on track and they changed positions. That was a weird one. Safety car though is in this lap, and Rudy and Commenters, because of what's just happened there, are not going to catch a safety car queue. What idiots.
Yeah, I think Carl Mentis would have got an illegal overtake somewhere for Rudy. Yeah. I don't think either will be too happy about that situation. You say they're not going to catch up. I think Connor will be as eager to go as early as he can so that Montana can't get to the back of the field. I wouldn't want to be backing up here if I was in Connor's situation. I'll be thinking more about Montana than Izzat, and Montana is going to catch up to the back of the field just about. That gap is 13 seconds. It's going to be coming down dramatically. Yeah, it's going to be tight for Montana. He needs to be hugging the back of that Alpine just ahead of him by the time Connor goes. And Connor, where he's not gone yet, I thought he'd be going now. The safety car's into the pit lane. If Connor can go, he's got to go now.
No, it's absolutely fine. Montana's going to be on the back of the safety car queue. And God forbid what is going to happen in these next 2 laps or so. Connor leads the way. Izzo, though, has got a really good restart on the back of him in towards turn number 1. White is going to be side by side with Wolvercar, who's defending hard in towards turn number 1 as well. There's one already done for Montana down the inside and towards turn number 1 on the back of Gladbach. Surely not what we are thinking is going to happen in the final 2 laps of this race. Connor leads the way. Izzo there in second, and Connor's got so much pace over Izzo, unless he's got damage. Izzo, he's absolutely been swamped by Connor there in terms of the pace. Running down the straight, Yildirim now going side by side potentially with Dan. Montana's on the back of this as well. Montana obviously there in 8th position. Yildirim there in 9th. I have to feel sorry though for the likes of Verstappen and Maledictus, who were very close to the back of that safety car queue. They didn't get on the back, and Yildirim's right on the back of Dan, coming out of turn right. Wolvercar around the outside as well. Izzo through, and he's into second still, and White is now side by side down into the Singapore sling. Don't want to be going side by side down into here. Wouter does though, down the inside line, forces him out wide slightly. Gary's going to be wetting his lips at this stage, and behind, side by side, and that's not going to work, and Gary's flinched the arm and needle through. Somehow he does make contact obviously, but somehow gets through that gap and he's into third, and now Montana all of a sudden. Are we talking about Montana potentially going to be on the podium here?
On the podium, Montana, certainly he's got a chance of P2 here, as I don't even want to make a judgment on that contact as Verstappen hits the back, I think, of Lulvercar there. It looked like into turn 14, not 100% sure, but Lulvercar's lost his front wing completely. Montana is past Gilbream for 4th place. Is Gary going to jump out of the way, or is Gary going to fight tooth and nail this last lap for his first podium of the season? It's his best chance yet, but he's got our championship leader behind him, and Montana, his first overtake at the start of that lap on the back of, it was one of the Williams, I think it was Resify, and Montana gets a penalty. That is massive. He's going to get past Gary, but is he going to get the 3 seconds? He's going to pass the AlphaTauri into turn 1 here. But what I was going to say, Montana's first overtake on the back of Resify at the restart, very naughty. I think he might have got that move done before the start-finish line, which obviously is not allowed and can incur a 5-second penalty. So I think it was to the millimetre whether Montana got that move done too early, but he's up into 3rd place. He's on for a podium on track as Maledictus there passes Verstappen into turn 5.
He does indeed. He's through and he's into 9th position on that set of soft compound tyre. Verstappen's coming back at him though down towards Memorial Corner. Doesn't get the job done, and Verstappen's done pretty much now in terms of that position. Montana, though, on the back of Izzo. 1.2, 1.3. Going to be 1.4 very soon. 1.5. Gap going up towards Gary. Gary's now going to be absolutely on tenterhook. Izzo is now going to park the bus across the Anderson Bridge. Quite literally, he's going to make that Ferrari look as wide as possible. Montana though just sends it down the inside line, and Izzo just gets out of the way. Montana through and he's into second, now on for the podium certainly. Izzo there in third, has just not got any pace. Somehow we're talking about an NSX 1-2 here. Connor leading the way, Montana in second, 2.8 seconds of gap. It's obviously not going to come down. It's been Connor's race right from the outset. Gladbach going side by side with Dan as well, nearly into the wall actually. Dan, and Gladbach gets the job done, so he's through and he's into 7th, and Maledictus now ran the outside through turn 16, nearly in the wall, both of them there, and actually Maledictus gets the job done. Beautiful stuff by the Portuguese man on the outside, but it has been Connor's race right from the outset. He's going to make it 3 in a row. Has now Montana got a title challenger? Round the final corner to the line, Connor wins in Singapore. Montana in the end in second, Izza there in third, and Gary's going to miss out by 0.3 of a second on a podium in the end. Maybe, though, another penalty coming in with Montana, as you said there. Gary there in the end for fourth, Yildirim there in fifth, an absolute mad end to the race. We see the likes of Carl Mentis, who got caught up, obviously, with that late safety car withdrawal, and Carl Mentis obviously didn't get onto the back, finishing there in P12. Connor, though, wins. Izza there in second, Montana there in third, and I think, honestly, I don't know who'd be happier. Connor, by pulling out 10 points over Montana, maybe 11 points, I think, in terms of the fastest lap, or Izza, second at his home race.
I think Izzat will be chuffed. I think Connor his victory, I think, will be soured a little bit by who's going to be joining him in the podium interviews this evening. Montana looked dead and buried, but the safety car, the third safety car, saved him a great deal. And I do wonder, looking at the restart, it was nip and tuck with the safety car coming in to the pit lane, but I think Connor could have gone half a second earlier, and that may have been just enough to keep Gary on the podium. Because if Connor had gone that little bit earlier, Montana only just caught up to the back of Red's bike as he were going through the last corner. It was so nip and tuck with that restart, and that's what it comes down to, fine margins. If Connor had played that slightly differently, Montana might have lost a place or two. But as it is, he waited and played it for him, quite thinking of Izzat behind, and he's got the win. But he's got Montana alongside him on the podium.
Yeah, Mark saying in terms of the Montana incident crossing the line, by the way, in towards turn number 1. Yeah, I thought he was actually a little bit behind coming across the start-finish line. I think he might have been around 500ths of a so down on Gladbach, and then he just absolutely sent it down the inside line. So, obviously, that is going to be margins potentially in between a podium and maybe a 5-second penalty potentially coming his way. So the top step of the podium, though, is NSX Connor, and it's a third win in a row for Mr. NSX Connor. Of course, formerly CPI Connor, formerly, what's the other Connors that he's been under in the past? LR Connor? Was that a one in the past as well? But yeah, he takes the win anyways.
I remember CPI Connor. People change teams far too much these days. But what a win from Connor. He controlled that from start to finish. Montana, look at that. 3 stops and third place on the podium. What a mental race he had. And I'd say it's one of the worst Montana performances I've seen. But those last 2 laps sum up his hunger and his desire.
Yeah, maybe channeling a bit of Ayrton Senna maybe tonight. That's certainly the comparison that I drew, certainly tonight from Montana. Being angry at one part, spinning obviously right down the back of the field, was in 16th position, and now he finishes in 3rd somehow when I predicted him for a top 10. That's right, you should find me as commentator. Connor wins, though, from Izza there in 2nd, Montana there in 3rd, Gary in 4th, Yildirim there in 5th, Reiter there in 6th, Gladbach in 7th, Maledictus in 8th, Dan in 9th, Verstappen ran off the top 10, then ran off the point scorers. Rudy, who picked up fastest lap of the race by 2 seconds in the end, over Comensus there, finishing in 12th as well. Coxey, Resify, Rocco are the finishers, Lovacar, Pease, Campbell, Forza Brendan and Jeroen, all DNFing at various stages of this race. Judging by the amount of safety cars we had, and judging by that LOE F2 is going to be starting, or Division 2 and Division 4 are going to be starting in about 12 minutes time, shall we scrap interviews for tonight and then return next week?
I think we should. I think another run round Singapore would do us the good. I couldn't complain. That was best race of the season by far. And the best thing about it is we saw some shambolic driving, but we also saw some masterful overtakes around the outside of turn 8, turn 14, turn 7. Everyone seemed to want to overtake around the outside today. And it was just a brilliant watch from start to finish. Singapore, normally the longest race of the season. We had the shortest race of the season last week at Monza, but it absolutely flew by, didn't it? We had an amazing time. It wasn't really too much under threat up front once Montana had that spin, but it was breathless from start to finish.
Looking at the chat, by the way, between Coxey and Montana, let's just say that one's going to go on for a while, potentially. Yeah, something about I've been hot lapping how to change dirty nappies, which of course Ryan has become a recent father. I think his baby is, 6-7 weeks old now, I think? Maybe a little bit younger?
Yeah, something around that, but he's already earmarking him for a D1 title in 2033 or something. They start young these days. So we'll see on that front.
I might not even be living towards 2033, who knows, but potentially we might see that in the future. I don't think we'll be here in 2033 in League of Europe, that's for sure. And Coxie saying as well, just because you're faster than someone doesn't mean I'm not going to fight you. Yeah, totally agree. You give him hell there, Coxie. You give him hell. But there we are. We are ending off tonight in what was a little bit of a controversial stream from my end, to be honest, but obviously very good racing. Of course, next week in the calendar, we do go from Singapore all the way home, back to Britain, back to an absolute vile-looking skyline out of my back window there. It is raining currently in the north of England. It's very cold. Pretty much sums up the north, I think, to be honest. But yeah, hopefully we're going to be back in blazing blue sky and sunshine next week at Silverstone, and hopefully, if I can figure out what's wrong with OBS, hopefully we're going to be back again next week as well. If not, you're going to be seeing PS4 streams potentially for the foreseeable future on the channel. Of course, Division 2 and Division 4 is coming up very soon indeed as well. Division 2 being taken through, of course, by Commensus, the returning Commensus, and XLJ Cole, and then for Division 4 it is Maverick and Verstappen who gets 2 boatloads of Singapore, and you also get 2 boatloads because you're in Division 2 as well. So good luck for Division 2, and we are going to end off here. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.